Tasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Ya Kundendu Tushayra Haira Chavala, Ya Shubhra Vastra Vrata, Ya Veena Varadanda Mandita Kara, Ya Shveta Padmasana, Ya Brahma Chuta Shankara Pratibhihi Vehe Sada Vandita. Samam Patu Sarasvati Bhagavati Bodhi Pradam Sharade, Bodhi Pradam Sharade.
Радика, можешь подать сюда? С вами 2 минуты, please.
Дорогие русские, российские преданные последователи, перевод на русский язык будет производиться так же, как вчера, в канале «Встреча с мастером». Поэтому одевайте наушники, перевод будет в наушниках.
Jai Gurudev. So, as today there were some devotee initiations happening, I was up with Gurudev, and the idea or the topic came up that I should come and speak about what it means to be a devotee. Not just, of course, for people who are going to get initiated, but for people who are already initiated also, and for those who maybe one day would like to become initiated. You see, most people don't take what it means to be a devotee seriously enough. And the reason for that is because it's relatively easy to do it. And Guruji is so nice and so wonderful and so beautiful and so all of these things that it's very easy to become attracted, to feel the love, to feel all of these wonderful feelings, and colored by this attraction, colored by these feelings, you make a promise, you make a commitment, but the commitment and the promise is to more than just your feeling of attraction. It's like deciding to marry someone during the first 2 months of the relationship. It's a bad idea. The question was, how do I know? You know, if I would sit here and tell you my life story, it would defeat the purpose of the satsang. But trust me, I know. The second problem with that question, and I want to highlight it, is there is the assumption that the only way that you can gain knowledge is by living it yourself, by having the experience yourself, which is completely nonsense. Because it removes the entire effort or the entire process of observation. If you cannot learn something by observing, then why do we have eyes? So, back to the topic. Becoming a devotee is a commitment, first and foremost. A commitment to yourself, a commitment to your guru, and a commitment to God. But more importantly, a commitment to a version of yourself that you do not yet know. During the Guru Gita course, it's funny, when we were upstairs, I was in Guruji's room, and he says, talk to them about what it means to be a devotee. And then he says, well, if they watched my Guru Gita course, then you don't need to say anything. I said, yeah, but for sure not everybody watched it. And he said, maybe. So for those who did not watch it, one of the things he said repeatedly during the course was that you have to learn the art of dying. You have to learn to die. And people hear this and they think, what? I'm trying to learn the art of living, to live in a better way, to be happy, to be full of love, to enjoy, to be blissful and peaceful and all these wonderful things. But actually, if I'm honest with you, for almost 20 years that I'm listening to Guruji, there are only a few things that he repeats year after year after year. Some things are seasonal. Sometimes he puts some emphasis and then he drops the subject for a few years. And one of those things that he consistently speaks about is to make death your friend. Now, I don't mean, somebody asked me this maybe a week ago or so, Swamijii, what did he mean by that when he said to learn the art of dying? And I said, immediately you're all thinking about the death of your bodies. But that's not what he's talking about. This has nothing to do with your physical death, and has everything to do with the death of the version of yourself that you think you should be. I'm not talking about your ego even. That's a complicated thing. Let's not go there. There is a huge gap between who you think you should be, who you would like to be, who you think you are in this present moment, how you would like others to think of you, and how he sees you, and how he would like you to become, and how he would like you to see yourself. And so before you can become the version of yourself that he sees for you, you have to allow the version of yourself that you see for yourself to die. Because you cannot be two at the same time. And so the first serious part of the devotee initiation, because there are the unserious parts and there are the serious parts. The unserious part is when you say, oh, I really like Guruji, he's fantastic. Whatever. The serious part is when you say, I recognize that the version of myself that I create in my mind and that I see is not my real self, and it's not the best version of myself. And if you can't come to the point where you start to think about, eventually believe in, eventually become convinced by the fact that he knows you better than you know yourself, and that he sees a future version of you more clearly than you see of yourself, then devotee initiation is not for you. If you don't begin to believe in that and eventually become completely convinced by that, that he knows better what is good for me than I know for myself, then there is no point in becoming a devotee. You may still get a lot of benefit from following his teachings, from being in his presence. All of that is still wonderful. But to call yourself his student, and for him to call himself your master, spiritually, that understanding must be there. It's non-negotiable. Because if not, then when he says, you please go left, you will say, but I want to go right. Why? Because left will create the version of you that he believes in, but right will create the version of yourself that you want to be. It's a battle of will, but he's not interested in fighting you. So a devotee initiation, a devotee relationship is a two-sided collaboration. I am working with you by will. Now there may be parts of me that sabotage this process. but not by will, not because I want to, not because I choose to, but because of my conditioning. Because unfortunately, I have been living a certain way for so many years that I am programmed that way. And so I will continue to act stupidly. I will continue to act against my best interests. But the difference will be, not because I choose to, not because I want to, but because I am programmed to. Do you ever have thoughts that you wish you didn't have? Then you understand what I'm talking about. It's not your choice, it's not what you want, but it happens anyway. That's what I mean by conditioning. So in your relationship with Guruji, there will be many feelings, thoughts, and actions that you do that will not be in alignment with what you're trying to achieve, that you will not be proud of, that will not be something that you would like Guruji to see. He sees it anyway, unfortunately. But the crucial point is, what do you choose? You see, often people ask me, Swamijee, I'm a devotee, or I'm a brahmachari, or I'm whatever it may be. I have made some form of commitment, and yet I have some terrible thoughts in my mind sometimes. I question Guruji, or I doubt my path, or I think about things that I shouldn't be thinking about or doing, etc., etc. Is that a bad sign? And I say, not at all. It's a sign that you're not yet a saint, which is quite acceptable. Guruji has not said that the criteria for devotee initiation is that you must be a saint. Rather, it's the opposite. You must desire to become a saint. You must have the aim to sanctify yourself. And this is the means by which you will do it. It would make no sense for that to be an expectation or a prerequisite. The only thing that you should be concerned about is not whether you feel, think, or do things that are not saintly. It's what do you do once they manifest? What choices do you make after you notice these thoughts in your mind? This is the real question. I'm a monk, as was pointed out earlier. Now, imagine suddenly a sexual desire enters my mind. Oh my God. I've now broken my vows, I am terrible, and I should take off the orange clothes immediately. Right? No, not at all. Not at all. It's actually completely natural and okay. You know why? Because in the huge ocean of memories and database that I have stored inside of me from thousands of lives, you think there was never any sexual activity in 100,000 lives? The fact that this therefore passes through my consciousness is of no concern whatsoever. It just means that my computer is still functioning. The hard drive is still operational. The problem is, if as it's passing by, I grab it and I say, ah, look at you. How interesting, how attractive. Let's play together. Then we have a problem. But that was a choice. That is from my will, my side. Understand? Therefore, something happening to you that you don't want to happen isn't the problem. The problem is how you respond to it. Therefore, your commitment to a relationship with Guruji is, Guruji, I want to become the version of myself that you see. And yet, I'm aware that in that process, my own programming, my own version of myself will continue to manifest time and time again. I will continue to act hypocritically. But I'm here to tell you that that is not hypocrisy. Somebody told me yesterday, you know, Swamijee, I listen to your satsangs, I feel so inspired, but every satsang of yours makes me feel like more of a hypocrite. And I said, well, that is unfortunate, but it's also a misconception. why do you feel like a hypocrite? And the person said to me, because I know I should be doing A, but I do B instead. And I said, that doesn't make you a hypocrite. That doesn't make you a hypocrite at all. The question you have to ask is not, I know I should be doing A, but instead I'm doing B. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to do B, or do you want to do A? Because if you know you should do A, and you want to do A, you choose to do A. But unfortunately, this conditioned machine still does B. You are not a hypocrite. You are just someone on the path, on the way to complete coherence. You only become a hypocrite when you know you should do A, but instead you choose to do B. By conscious choice and awareness, not by conditioning. Do you understand the difference? And this is incredibly important. You know why? Because of all the things I will tell you that you need to become a successful devotee of Paramahamsa Vishwananda, there are 3 things that I want to focus on today, if you'll allow me the time. There are 3 qualities that I think are non-negotiable if you want to become a successful devotee of Paramahamsa Vishwananda. The first one, Guruji will not like me saying this, is to not take yourself too seriously. Relax a little bit. Whatever you think is dramatic, I promise you, it's not that big of a deal. You've been through this game 100,000 times at least. And you go to Guruji, you say, Guruji, I have such a problem in my life, please fix it. And he's waiting for you to say, my soul is not fully conscious of God. I'm not surrendered at the lotus feet of God. And you say, I don't like my boss at work. And he says, yes, truly a catastrophic problem, so huge. Whatever can we do? It's nonsense. So relax. Guruji, I'm feeling so restless lately. Don't worry. Like the seasons, it will pass. If you allow it to. But if you hold on to it and make it into a big problem, congratulations, it will become a big problem. So therefore, relax. 2 days ago, Guruji and I were fighting, and we were in a bad mood. And I arrived, and I smiled for the cameras, and my mother, she writes to me and says, I saw you in a photo arriving in Azerbaijan. You were clearly faking your smile. And I said, you really are my mother, aren't you? I was in a terrible mood. I had just had a fight with Guruji, right? And the next morning, I go to Guruji and I say, Guruji, are we good? Are we done fighting? Are we out of kindergarten? He didn't like that comment. So the fight extended itself for 1 more day. And I said to him, but you know, Guruji, this isn't very rational to continue this. It's in the past, it's gone. Let's just move on. And he says, I don't want to. But then the wonderful thing happened that usually happens in these moments. He started a fight with someone else. And then when he did that, he forgot that he had a problem with me. So then we were fine again. And he starts cracking jokes with me, and he, like, now I'm on his side. Look, Revati, at that idiot over there. And I'm like, you're right, Guruji, terrible. What an idiot. I'm taking my chance. But my point is that I know that this is just the little games that we play. Year after year, month after month, week after week. And yet there is great lessons to be learned in that. Because I have devotees who will come to me and say, Guruji looked at me in a funny way. I was not sure that the look was affectionate. And because of that one look, now they say, Swamijee, I feel like I need to change my life. Everything is upside down. Everything is terrible. He hates me. I'm not good enough. And full disaster follows. And then I go to Guruji and I say, Guruji, this person is very concerned because you looked at them in this particular way and they think that you hate them. And he looks at me with utter confusion and says, huh? I said, yes, Guruji. They are convinced that their life is a disaster because of the way you looked at them. And he says, no, I just thought their hair looked funny. And therefore, without elaborating further, my first point is, relax. Don't take everything so seriously. If you have a dream with him and he comes in the dream and he's tough on you, wake up from the dream. Problem solved. Move on, turn the page. For so many years, people used to come to me and say, it's amazing, your skill to have Guruji shout at you and 5 minutes later, you're fine. And I say to them, listen to me very carefully, and I mean carefully like because there's danger involved in what I'm saying, not attentively. I don't mean listen attentively, I mean listen with much caution. What I'm about to tell you is both true and incredibly dangerous. This is what I was saying to the person. When he shows any kind of displeasure, dislike, anything negative towards you, okay? It's not real. They said, what are you saying to me, Swamijee? I said, psst, don't tell everyone. But it's fake because he loves you. And they say, yeah, but I cannot say that to Guruji's face. When he shouts at me, I say, ha 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 ha, I know you love me really. I said, no, you misunderstand me. The shouting is part of the love. It's because he loves you that he shouts at you. So next time he shouts at you, don't tell him it's fake. Tell him, I love you too. And he said, I think he'll call me crazy if I do that. And I said, say it inside then. Guruji comes around the corner and he sees me talking to this person and he has a very angry look on his face. And he says to me, what are you doing? I said, Guruji, I'm sharing some experiences with this person. And he says to the Mataji, go away, quickly, go away. She goes away and he looks at me and he says, what did you tell her? I said, I told her to tell you I love you inside. And he looks at me with these piercing darshan-like eyes and he says, I want you to shut up for the rest of the day. That evening, he comes to me and he says, you ruined everything. I said, why? Just because I went to that Mataji and I shouted at her. Because I had to. It was in my plan to shout at that Mataji today. And I said, okay, nice. What a nice plan. But she didn't become upset. She didn't get affected by it. I thought she was going to cry and become miserable. But she just smiled at me like she was a little bit not there in the head. What did you tell her? I said, Guruji, I told her that you love her and that if you shout at her, it's because you love her. It's a blessing, it's a lovely thing. And he got so upset at me. And he said something that I want to share with you. He said, of course I love her, and of course I'm shouting because I love her. But if I'm shouting, it's because I want her to feel like she needs to be corrected, like something is wrong. That's why I shout, to make a correction. I said, okay, I apologize. But then you help me understand something, Guruji. If you shout at somebody and they become depressed, is that the right reaction? He says, no, of course not. If you shout at someone and they smile at you and they say thank you, is that the right reaction? He says, well, no, not really. I said, well, then I'm not sure how we're supposed to react. And he got so frustrated and so like agitated. He said, you're the worst. And he just walks away. He comes back with a different Swami. And he says to this other Swami, look, I'm going to explain something to you because this one over here, he's too intellectual. He's always trying to understand me, and I don't like it. You're a bit more stupid, so I'm going to explain to you, and I want to see what you say. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, this is terrible. And he says to this other Swami, which I will not name, of course, he says to this Swami, if I shout at you, what should you do? And he says, I should shut up and say sorry. And he says, good. And he looks at me and he says, you see, so simple. Tell that to the people. Tell them to shut up and say sorry. I said, okay, good. Yes, boss, got the lesson. And stop being so smart. I said, okay. So, why am I telling you this whole story? Yes, it's to laugh, but not only. Because sometimes, this is my second quality I'm going to now emphasize. The first one was to relax, don't take yourself too seriously. The second one is, don't overcomplicate it. Overcomplicate it means that you always try to interpret everything, and you try to understand everything, and everything has a hidden meaning, and everything is very mystical and very mysterious. No. Guruji shouts, you shut up and say sorry. Guruji smiles, you smile back. And you still shut up, by the way. So simple. He says go left, you go left. He says go right, you go right. You don't say, I know he said right, but inside my heart, I feel like he meant left. The feeling is there. Or you know, there was that one time where Swami Revatikaanta told me a story that Guruji told him to go left, but he went right, and then it worked out so nicely. You're not Swami Revatikaanta. See how simple it is? So the second quality you need for a successful relationship with Guruji is don't overcomplicate it. It's very simple. You are my devotee, he says. You say yes. That means he's your teacher. That means he says, you follow. So simple. So simple. But, here comes the but. There's a third quality that I wanted to emphasize today. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't complicate things. But the third one is you must be incredibly stubborn. Now, stubborn you may see as a negative quality. To be stubborn, to be persistent, right? But you must be so annoyingly stubborn that if Guruji tells you no 100 times, you will still come the 101st time to say, what about today? No. Okay, see you tomorrow. And I mean that with all my heart. Because if you're asking the right question, then you must wait for the right answer. And if it's not today, then you know in your heart that it will be tomorrow. And tomorrow, you will tell yourself the same mantra again, and again, and again. Now the question is, what is the right question? Is the right question, Guruji, can I live in your house? No, I tried that one. I don't recommend it. Is the right question, Guruji, can I always be by your side and travel to every pilgrimage? No. Guruji, can you talk to me all the time? No. Guruji, can you make me a ring? No. It's none of these questions. The only question that should be of any interest to you is, Guruji, how may I be of service to you today? Now you may have been thinking I was going to tell you, oh, can you give me God realization? Can you give me grace? Can you give me all these things? No, that's not the right question either. I'll tell you a story that I think really encapsulates this principle. There was a guru who was getting ready to leave his body, and he had to choose a successor. And so he called up all his disciples, and they all came and stood in front of him. And so he had 50 disciples standing in front of him, and he said to them, I'm going to leave my body today, and I have decided that I need a successor, and so I'm here to choose one. So I want to ask you all a question first. All of you who think that you are ready to become my successors, please step forward. And 25 people stepped forward. Half of them said, I am ready. And they stepped forward. And he said, and whoever thinks they are not ready to become my successors, please take a step back. And the other 25 took a step back. But then he saw that there was one more devotee. There was 51 devotees there. And one devotee stayed in the middle. And he said to him, you're deaf? You don't hear? You're ready or you're not ready? And he just looked at the guru and he said, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready, and I don't know if I'm not ready, because only you can decide that. Only you know if I meet the criteria to become your successor. If I decide that I'm ready or I'm not ready, then I'm the authority here. Then I know what is right and what is wrong. I know what is good enough and what is not good enough. And I don't know these things. You are my guru. Only you can say if I'm ready or not. And the guru smiled and he said, you're my successor. Now, why do I tell this story? Because the same thing applies to your relationship with Guruji. You may ask for blessings. You may ask for grace. You may ask him to give you God himself. But why do you ask for something that you don't know you're ready to receive? You don't know whether you're ready to receive that. Do you know what you're asking for then? You don't know. And therefore I told you very clearly what the only right question is. The right question is, how may I be of service to you today? My readiness or not, my qualification or not to become a saint or not, you decide that. That's your business. Your business is the grace-giving business, the blessing-giving business, the realization-giving business. My business is to be of service to you. Now, you may be thinking of service in 500 different ways. Everybody has their own connotation with the word service. Do you know what service means to me? Service is not something you do, it's someone you are. It's a state of being. My being is of service. You know how your being becomes of service? There are a few ways. First, when your being is continuously available. So your availability is a service. Because if that moment comes that Guruji picks up the phone and he calls you and he gets a busy tone, then you may be the best servant in the world, but an unavailable best servant in the world is worse than the worst available servant in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even the most unskilled but available person is more useful than the most skilled but unavailable person. So availability in your heart, availability in your mind, to always be of service to God, to always be of service to Guruji. No matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, no matter the time of day, no matter the request, availability is seva. The second way I understand seva as a state of being is that by your very existence, you are already serving people without doing or saying anything. And how can that be? Only if your life radiates the love of God, the love of Guruji, because love, light, is a radiating substance. It is not a hidden substance. It radiates. When you are doing your sadhana, some people think that it's a selfish thing to do. I used to be one of those. I used to have fights with Swami Aniruddha all the time. Because Swami Aniruddha, for many years, all he would do is he would go to the temple, he would do his seva in the temple, he would do his job, 9 to 5, doing seva, and then he would go to his room, shut the door, and you would never see him again. And you think, oh, he's in there just sleeping or watching movies. No, he's doing kriya for hours, as much as he can. Reading, meditating, he loves his kriya. You walk into his room and you'll see him always like this, but a little bit like this, because half sleeping. Right? And I would always criticize him, a younger version of me, a much more extroverted version of me. I would go to him and say, you're so selfish. You're never with the people. You're never spending time with the people. You just lock yourself in your room and do your sadhana. It's so selfish of you. And he didn't really argue with me. He would just say, I disagree, I disagree, I disagree. And eventually, with some more growing up and some more maturity and listening to Guruji and talking to Guruji, I understood that he was doing the most beneficial, selfless thing he could possibly do, which was to improve himself so that he can actually become of service to people. Because the worst thing, and what I see all the time in the world, is people who have the hero complex. They want to be the hero that saves everybody and is a light for everybody and inspires everybody. Look at me, how inspirational I am. Come, gather my drops of wisdom that I will impart upon you all. And really, they have nothing of substance to give. It's just a facade, it's just a mask. It's a show with little substance. And you think you're being selfless, you think you're being of service to people when you do this, but you cannot give what you don't have. You want to give inspiration, where is your inspiration? You want to give peace, where's your peace? You want to give love, where's your love? You want to give wisdom, where is your wisdom? Therefore you study, you do sadhana, you do these things because you are doing what is best for others by becoming a person that lives in a state of service. So that if you just walk in the room, people already start to benefit from the presence of the person without saying or doing anything. Have you ever felt that? Just by being in the presence of somebody, you feel uplifted, you feel inspired, or you feel calmer, you feel whatever it may be. Yes? That is a state of seva. The last example I will give of how to truly serve is by being an example in your actions and in your speech. Live by example. Now you may think, yeah, but that's your job. You're a Swami. Not at all. It's also my job. But it is the job of every human being. It is just that the more you become aware of that duty, the more responsible you are to fulfill that duty. But every human being has that duty. Because, unfortunately, we don't live in a bubble. Unfortunately, we share this world with everybody else. I say unfortunately because as the years have progressed, extroverted Swami Revatikanta has completely died and disappeared. And now it has been replaced by 100% go to my room and close the door, Swami Revatikanta. I am now Swami Aniruddha, and now Swami Aniruddha is me. We have flipped. Okay? This right here, without the microphone in my hand, is my nightmare. With the microphone, my greatest pleasure. Why? I'll explain, so that you take it in the right way. Otherwise you'll say, my God, this devotee of Guruji hates human beings. This is terrible. I'll explain. There's a right understanding for this, hopefully. It comes from Guruji, actually. You see, people sometimes forget how much we all have changed because of him. You don't see the change. It's like growing gradually. One day to the next, you don't see the moment of transformation, but 10 years later, you look nothing like you were 10 years before, right? So similarly, I'm with Guruji since I was a child. I grew up with Guruji. I've lived in his house longer than anywhere else in my life. And I often like to remind Guruji of this point. Because when he doesn't like something about me, I say, you do realize you raised me, right? I am literally a byproduct of your teaching. So, maybe we take co-responsibility here? But my point is the following. One of the things he always taught me, you need to learn to love everyone, but you should most definitely not like everyone. Because there is much not to like in people. But there is one specific thing to love. And that is most important. And I said to him, but that one thing that is worth loving in people, you see it, I don't. So all I'm left with is the parts that are not to like, and I don't see the part that is to love. You're almost the opposite. When you look at us, you see shining inside of us the part you love, and the part that you don't like so much, you see minimally. It's not that he doesn't see it, but he disregards it to some extent. And I know this may be shocking to you, but Guruji loves you all, but he most likely does not like most of you. And that's because, in full self-acceptance, you know what is in your mind. It's not a shock to you if you're honest with yourself. In fact, when I first realized that he could truly see the contents of my mind, my immediate urge was not only fear, but also to apologize to him for what he has to see. Imagine Guruji would come yesterday for darshan, and instead of looking at you and blessing you and smiling at you, he says, "Ah, here comes again this liar, cheater, hypocrite. Wonderful to see you again, Mr. Liar. How's your spiritual life going?" "Oh, Guruji, so nicely. I'm doing so much of my sadhana." And he says, "Ah, yes. 5 minutes of japa a day. Congratulations. What a hero." And then he walks away. Next person. Would you feel uplifted? Would you feel blessed? No. But would it be a lie? Most likely not. Understand the point? So Guruji, for the longest time, he taught me, he still teaches me, that the most important thing in developing your spirituality is called viveka. Viveka means discrimination, discernment. I prefer the word. To be able to distinguish between left and right, black and white, to be able to tell things apart. So I have to be able to find in you what I must love, and I must find in you what I am not to like. And you'll say, but why is it important to find that second one? It is incredibly important. Because I have to become as clear about where I want to go as I have to be clear about what I don't want to go to. I have to be inspired by what I want to achieve, but I have to be equally clear about what I don't want to achieve. Because if you don't become clear about the stuff that you should not want in your life, then you know what will happen? You will see a rose in front of you in the garden, and you want that rose, and you'll start to water the rose, but because you don't have the eye of discernment, you don't see the creeper that is being watered simultaneously and is going to grow and strangle the rose. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so you spend time with the lovely people. This is what we all like to say, Sangha, yeah, humans, we love everyone, woo! And then you come here, you spend time, but with no discernment. It's just, let's spend time together. And so you'll imbibe everything that person has to give, good and bad. And then you're surprised when not much progress happens. Guruji always says, you want to become a thief, you hang out with thieves. I want to become a saint. Any saints in the room? No? Then forgive my absence. Understand my point? I'm going to hang out with the only saintly person I know, which is him. Now, if he's not available for hanging out, then I have a problem. I have to take the next best option. You know what the next best option is? My deity. I go and do my puja, I go and pray, I go and spend time. If that's reached its limit, then what is the next best thing? Eventually, I might say, okay, I'll go spend some time with the devotees. Option 3, 4, or 5, somewhere along that ranking. Have I done my 16 rounds of japa? Have I done an hour? Yes. Have I done my kriya? Have I read Bhagavad Gita? Have I done my puja? Have I hang out with Guruji? Did I listen to his satsang? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, fine. I'll spend some time with the devotees then. Because you do have one thing that I want very much in my life, and I'm therefore very happy to acquire from you and to give back to you as much as I can. One thing minimal. Some of you may have more than one thing I want, but one minimum you all have. And that is love for him. Affection for him. That you all have in your own flavor, in your own way. And I want it from you. I'm very greedy for that. So if you want to show it to me, then I want to spend time with you. Then we can become best friends even. Then suddenly I like you all. And then this is not my nightmare anymore. Now this is my paradise. And I mean that. I'm not now saying that just to be, oh yeah, look, spiritual stuff. No. Guruji teaches me this all the time. Yesterday night, we were coming back from a dinner. No, not yesterday night, day before yesterday. Time flies. Day before yesterday, we were coming back from a dinner, and we were in the car, and somebody in the car and I were having a conversation about mundane things. You know why? Because here in Baku, there was the Formula 1 Grand Prix recently, right? So we were talking about Formula 1. We're like, oh yeah, we used to watch it in the 90s, etc., etc. So we were talking about that. And it was nice, reminiscing and talking. Then we started transitioning to talking about football. And we were just talking. But Guruji was sitting in front. And Guruji was on his phone, doing his own thing. But suddenly, he was humming a melody of a bhajan, right? And as we start talking about this a little bit more passionately, I listen to him humming, and he starts humming a bit louder. And then he quietens down again. Like, warning number 1. We keep on talking, but now I'm a little bit more hesitant, so I start like looking left and right to the person and to Guruji, like, he starts humming a bit louder, and I'm realizing we should shut up right now. This is one of those moments where this is going in the wrong direction. Because we're just talking nonsense. It's nothing of value. And if even in the presence of Guruji, we are capable of wasting our time and talking nonsense, then imagine when he's not there, right? And so then, this person very innocently continued talking about it, and I just looked straight and said, yeah, just to keep things polite. But I was like, I need to shut up right now. This needs to stop. When we went back to the room, I said, Guruji, apologies for the conversation. And he says to me, you noticed my humming. I said, yes, I noticed. He said, you know, you should be giving a better example than that. Now, you may think that's a bit harsh. It was just 2 minutes, what's the big deal? But he's right. He's right because in that moment, I was not being of service to him. Now you may think that I was having a conversation with somebody else, it's got nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with him. Everything to do with him. So I repeat, to be of service means availability. To be of service means that you radiate love, which means you need to be working on yourself to acquire the things you want to give to others, sadhana. And third, that you must be a living example at all times. Then you are living perfectly. I mean that. You are living your role perfectly. If you can do these 3 things, be constantly available to radiate, and that is a result of your self-development, your self-work. And third, to proactively give an inspirational example. And now let me be honest with you. If we were all doing that, Sangha would be the most blessed place on earth. And Guruji wants Sangha. Guruji loves Sangha. He emphasizes Sangha, Sangha, Sangha. Come together, but come together in the right way. Because Sangha is not hanging out. You know what it's really called? Satsanga. It's the Sangha that revolves around Sat, truth. So he's happy when the Sangha is together doing service, doing practical things together, sadhana, talking about God, talking about Guruji, talking about our path. But devotees getting together to do mundane things is not Sangha. That's Asat Sangha. A Sangha that is promoting the opposite of truth. Understand that difference. So when I say what I said earlier, I repeat now that, I'm introverted, I go away from the crowds, I don't like this, is because I'm very careful that I'm not doing something that sends me backwards when I'm trying to move forwards. First, you show me that we're all here with the same mentality, for the same purpose. Show me that this is Satsanga, and I will be in the middle of it. Very grateful to you all. But as long as it's just this, waya, meow, 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 about nonsense, I'm out. Have no interest in this. Because you become that which you focus on. You become that which you surround yourself with. Do you remember the 3 qualities I said you need to have a successful relationship with Guruji? The first one was what? Don't take yourself too seriously. The second was what? Don't overcomplicate, be simple. And the third one? To be very stubborn. Guruji, I want to serve you. Guruji, I want to be of service. How may I serve you? How may I serve you? And he'll say, no, nothing, I don't want your service. You say, okay, no problem, tomorrow. But I want to be of service. I want to give back. I want to give. I want to give. Not only take. Now allow me to tell you what I had to therefore develop in order to live these three qualities. And I'll end it here so that I don't make this too complicated. Courage. You need courage, bravery. Because in this process of simplifying your life, of focusing your life on that which is important, on being stubborn about your desire to serve Him and to relate with Him, He will polish you. And you will embrace it, you will want it, you will love it in your own way, but you will need a lot of courage to persevere through that process of polishing. There are a lot of people that cannot take the heat. And the heat doesn't mean physical proximity. If you want to experience what I'm talking about, take your hands and do like I'm doing.
Okay. Just rub them. Okay? Keep going. The more you do it,
the more you do it, the more uncomfortable it will become. It will get hot. Is it getting hot?
yes.
Okay. Is there any part of you that wants to stop doing it? Yes. Now stop. Okay. Now imagine Guruji. Nice. Stop praying. Now imagine Guruji is doing that constantly to your whole being, just rubbing you up and down.
Okay?
All day, non-stop. It's exactly what he's doing. Exactly what he's doing. And you're feeling at some point like, oh, nice, it's a massage. Oh, yeah, this is wonderful. But after 5 minutes, it's like, okay, now it's enough. It's a bit too much. Okay, Guruji, 10 minutes now. Whoa, this is getting uncomfortable. And it goes on and on. To the point where you may reach a point where you forget, why am I even doing this in the first place? Because this doesn't feel good. Forgive me for being a bit direct now, but if you keep going, eventually it's going to get raw. You're going to really start harming yourself. And he still won't stop. Why? You have to ask yourself the question, why? Why does he want to do that? What is the goal? What is the point? And why does he have to keep doing it? Surely I should be clean at some point. But you'll be very disappointed to hear the answer. The reason why he keeps on cleaning you is because you keep dirtying yourself. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse that says, the one who considers his guru to be a normal human being, all their spiritual efforts are frustrated, they are useless, because it is like an elephant that goes to the river and washes himself and then rolls around in the dirt the next moment. Congratulations, you came to the Guru who is going to clean you, but the next thing you do is you roll in the mud. Don't be surprised when he has to constantly give you showers then. He's constantly putting you in the bath to wash you, because you constantly throw the dirt back on yourself. And I know why you do it, because I'm like you also. I know why you do it. I know why it is so tempting to do it. Because his solutions are long-term, but we want short-term solutions to our problems. That's it, simple as that. You know what he would like you to do? I'm feeling sad. He would like you to say, God is my only solution. Lord, I pray to you, Lord, I serve you, Lord, I'm talking to you, and problem will go away. Problem is, does it always go away when you do that? No, not always. Because where is the Lord? Sometimes very far away. Sometimes the Lord is the thing that's making you feel sad. So what do? Oh, maybe I go and, have some ice cream, have a drink, hang out with some friends, because it's a short-term boost to my happiness. It's a short, quick fix, right? Which, by the way, is the exact mentality of a drug addict. This world, Maya, can be viewed as a sort of drug. And we are so much longing for happiness that whenever we get a little dose of it, we take it immediately. It is why people eat more cake than they eat salad. Of course, everybody knows that the cake is not good for you. Everybody knows. But it's very good for me in another sense. It gives me a little happiness boost. And that's very nice. It feels nice. You understand? But there's a problem in that. Every time you do one of these things, you are speaking to Guruji. This is a lesson I have learned the hard way in 20 years. That my actions are a language with God, a language with my Guru. And I'm sure you've heard the saying that if you take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. If you give something to God, He gives you back tenfold. You've heard something like this? Sometimes it's 100 or 1,000 or whatever. But you've heard something like this, yeah? I have bad news for you. The same thing works in reverse. You take a step back, He takes 10 steps back. You say no, He tells you no 10 times. Because you have to understand the importance. It's not a game. You're not playing with toys. This is the most important thing in your life. And the only way to learn value is through consequence. And I'm telling you, so that the wise amongst you may not have to repeat those errors that I have committed. Because the fastest way to learn is consequence. Don't touch the fire. Ah yes, no problem. I touch it anyway. Ooh, it hurts. Now I know for sure not to touch it again. Consequence. Do you want to learn through wisdom or consequence? Wisdom, no? So wisdom can be shared in satsang. You listen to the lives of other people. You listen to the experience of others. You observe the life of other people and you learn. And you learn so that you don't have to repeat the same mistakes that other people make. Guruji has had 2 careers on Twitter, X. So the first one he did for a few years, then he stopped for a few years, and now he started again, right? Posting. Back in the day, he posted one message once. It was amazing. So good, my favorite tweet of all time. But the people were shocked. Let me see if any of you remember this, that you were checking it back in the day. So he tweeted the following. He said, if someone has wronged you, if someone has done something bad against you, don't attempt to exact your vengeance on them. Don't try to punish them back. Simply wait and observe. God will take care of punishing the person, and if you're lucky, He'll let you watch. And that was the tweet. And people read this, they were like, oh my God, Guruji's like a vengeful, scorned lady. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna punish you and watch you and whatever. And people were coming to me saying, can you help me understand what he means by this? Because it seems very sinister almost, a bit evil. And I laughed because I knew people were going to interpret it in that way. Like you get to watch somebody suffering the consequences of their actions and you can enjoy the suffering of your enemies, right? But it had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with that. Because I was with Guruji when he wrote the tweet. And the tweet was about me. Because I had just had another fight with Guruji. And the problem with my fight was that someone who I thought was an asshole was not getting punished. And so I wanted to punish that person. And I said, Guruji, with your permission, can I? And he said, don't be stupid. God will take care, but I'll let you watch. And I said, wonderful. And then he said, why is it wonderful, Revati? Because he could see that my wonderful was not the wonderful he meant. My wonderful was, great, suffer, you idiot. Don't like that person, suffer. His wonderful was, so that you can learn the consequences of those mistakes so that you never have to repeat them yourself. Because if you're truly lucky, you will see people around you failing. If you're truly blessed, God will surround you with mistakes and failures. Because that is the sweet way of learning, so that you don't have to learn the bitter way, which is through your own mistakes and failures and your own consequences. Do you understand what I just said? God will surround you with failure as a blessing to you, so that you can learn, but you will only learn if you're sharp, observing, watching like a hawk, like an eagle. And therefore I will leave you with this. For the last 10 years of my life, I have been a very, very, very passionate observer of people. I watch you all the time. Yesterday in the darshan, like a bit creepy even, yesterday at the darshan, I was just standing there half the time, just looking into the crowd. Kirtan is going on, everyone's like, Radhe, Radhe. I'm just watching. Who's doing what? Who's feeling what? Who's saying what? Who's Guruji looking at in one way or another way or whatever? So much to learn. So much to observe. And then I have my notes from yesterday's darshan with about 20 opinions that I took away from people and things that I saw. Half of them have already gone to other swamis for reflection. Half have already gone into my book that I'm writing. All sorts of things. But this is only possible when you're watching, when you're observing, when you want to learn. And that, for me, is the beauty of Sangha. So many people complain to me that they don't want to be in Sangha because they don't like the people. And I say to them, but that's wonderful. That's the best kind of Sangha. When you don't like the people. Because that's when you have the most to learn. If it's all your best friends, it's a comfort bubble. It's a comfort zone. You're going to learn nothing. You're just all hanging out like, yeah, you're the best. Yeah, you too. Woo! And you know it's not true, but you know, whatever, yeah. It's nice sometimes, I don't say no. But sometimes it's wonderful to surround yourself with people that you think are absolute assholes. It's wonderful. You learn so much, truthfully. So, it's too much now, I'll leave it. I said, don't take yourself too seriously. Not everything is as dramatic as you think it is. I said, don't overcomplicate things. If Guruji says to go left, go left. If he says no, it's a no. Except for the third point, which is I told you to be annoyingly stubborn. not about what you want to get from him, no, about what you want to give to him. You don't ask, because he will give when it's the right time to give. He's very good at his job, Guruji. He knows when it's time to bless you. He knows when you need something. He knows all of it. He's very, very good at his job. We need to focus on our job, to be of service. And then I unpacked what it meant to be of service. And I said, service is not something you do necessarily. It's a state of being. You remember? And I highlighted that to be of service means, again, 3 things. So 3 is the number. The first is that you have to be available. The second is that you have to radiate your values, your spirituality, and you'll only be able to do that if you're doing sadhana. And the third thing is to speak and to act in a way that is giving a good example to others, that is of inspirational value to others. And wrapping all of this together was courage. Because courage is what you're going to need to survive and to persevere through the cleaning process, through the polishing process. And you gradually become more and more aware of the fact that Guruji is cleaning you and you're dirtying yourself again. And so you start to diminish the amount of dirt you throw on yourself by becoming wise. And you become wise by observing the failures and mistakes of everybody so that you don't keep repeating the same mistakes again and again and again. But if you don't listen to what I'm saying and you don't practice that, no problem. You'll just have to learn the hard way. Consequences. Touch the fire, please do it. You will still learn, you will still progress. And if you take what I said into account, you will understand what it means to be a devotee of Guruji, and you will also understand the value of Sangha. Sangha is where you come to transform, to grow, to develop. It's not where you come to chill out with the homies. Okay? That you can do in your private time if you want. Jai Gurudev.